Assalamu alaikum. Well, one of the things that I can start out by saying is that the methodologies that you've laid out in terms of collecting information have certainly gotten more sophisticated, I would say, over the years. But the African American community in general and the African American Muslim community is really no exception, is that we've deliberately shied away from sharing certain kinds of information with entities, starting with the government, because of the systemic racism that has impacted our communities. So you will always find some level of discrepancy when you do research on the Muslim American African community, simply because we choose not to share a lot of that information with government entities and a lot of our own organizations that, in my view, feed the larger entities, share that information. The idea of meritocracy doesn't apply necessarily to the African American community in general, and certainly the African American Muslim community. We know that there are many highly accomplished Africans, but the discrimination impacts always their track, to elevation in the society and indeed within their own professions. So that remains a serious obstacle in terms of how, if you want to quantify, document how Muslim Americans, African American Muslims will choose to spend their resources, you'll always get a skew there, if and until we as a community are able to bring some positive change to the overall process in this country. I hope I made some sense there. Yeah. So what I'd like to say is that, the Schomburg Center, for instance, where I work, Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture, it's a 92-year-old institution. It's a research unit of the New York Public Library. It's free. I administer a Scholars in Residence program there, where you can come, sit for 6 months to a year with a stipend and delve into the incredible resources there at the center, which will educate you about the history of the country, the incredible contributions that people have made that you will not learn at most of the Ivy League prestigious universities, So this speaks to the need for us to start thinking about developing alternative modes of education, because without doing that, we'll never get the real substance of the story, and we'll continue to replicate what's already there for us. So I'd like to say that we have, it's a great time to be alive, to be Muslim in America at this time. The opportunities that are embedded in the incredible challenges that we face are just a gift, from Allah. So we're going to have to really push some buttons to, in many instances, rip apart the things that we have grown accustomed to. We have to rethink what education means for us and how does it serve our community, and know that when we delve into the history of the country, you're going to find that African Americans, and many of them were Muslim, have built this country from the ground up in all fields. Many of the things that they invented or created, you would never know about because their names were just erased from those accolades. So we have a lot. We have a lot of learning to do. We have a lot of relearning to do, unlearning to do. But it's our time. And again, there is a lot of information to be gleaned here. But I think that we have to acknowledge the fact that we've been handicapped for a long time by the sheer education that we've had, even before our families came from overseas, you know. So it's our chance now through our progeny to change, you know, those dynamics. And I think it will be a wonderful experiment to delve into, really, inshallah.
Thank you.
I love the masjid, and I'm committed to fighting, screaming, working, loving, whatever, to have a more welcoming environment so that women can re-engage again, as our predecessors did, to maintain those spaces, to raise our children, and also to deepen our own spiritual growth. So I just like to throw that out, you know, as a caveat. You know, we have a lot of do in the masajids, and I think that we don't have a choice to walk away from those institutions.